Let's talk about something that sounds boring, but affects everything you buy: trade policy. In early 2025, President Trump, back in the White House, ramped up economic pressure on China. He didn't just increase tariffs, he unleashed them, sending shockwaves through the global economy. Right in the middle of this chaos was Amazon, a company built on global supply chains. Suddenly, the world's two biggest economies were locked in a trade war, each slapping higher taxes on the other's goods. For multinational companies, this was a nightmare. Their business model, making things in one country, selling in another, became a risky gamble overnight. Amazon's promise of anything you want cheap and fast was under threat from its own government. The conflict spilled into the open, with President Trump publicly clashing with Amazon's founder Jeff Bezos. Their feud fueled rumors and speculation, including a wild and false story that Amazon was leaving the US. Of course, Amazon didn't leave, but the fact that people believed it shows how unstable things felt. This episode was a stark lesson in how quickly political decisions in Washington can shake the stock market and rattle corporate giants. The uncertainty left everyone wondering what would happen next. In a matter of weeks, trade policy went from background noise to front-page drama, and Amazon was caught in the eye of the storm. So, what's a tariff? It's a tax on imported goods. Imagine you want sneakers from China. If the US slaps a 25% tariff on them, your $100 shoes now cost $125. Companies pass that extra cost to you, the consumer. The Trump administration said tariffs would protect American industries by making foreign goods pricier, encouraging people to buy American. In reality, the global economy is a tangled web of supply chains. In 2025, the US didn't just add small tariffs, it went big, with some as high as 145% on Chinese goods. China hit back with its own tariffs on American products like soybeans, cars, and airplanes. This tit-for-tat quickly spiraled into a full-blown trade war. Trump's approach was all about disruption, immediate, dramatic action instead of slow negotiation. The result? Chaos for businesses that rely on stable costs and predictable supply chains. Companies suddenly faced a minefield of changing taxes, making planning nearly impossible. The hope was to force China to negotiate, but the immediate effect was confusion and higher prices. The trade war became a high-stakes gamble with global consequences. For companies like Amazon, it was a logistical nightmare. And for consumers, it meant paying more for everyday goods. When the US and China clash, big companies get caught in the crossfire. Boeing, a major exporter, relies on China for a huge chunk of its business. When China retaliated, it slapped tariffs on American aircraft and stopped accepting Boeing's 737 MAX deliveries. Brand new planes sat idle, costing Boeing millions and shaking investor confidence. Even if you build in the US, you might depend on foreign buyers. And when trade wars hit, you're vulnerable. For Amazon, the pain was different, but just as real. Amazon's business depends on sourcing products from around the world, especially China. US tariffs on Chinese goods sent costs soaring for millions of items on Amazon's platform. Should Amazon eat the cost, or pass it to customers? Either way, it was a lose-lose. The company's core promise, endless selection at low prices, was suddenly at risk. This wasn't just a business headache, it was an existential threat. Amazon and Boeing both learned, in a trade war, no one is safe. The rules of global business had changed overnight. The trade war was complicated for Amazon, but Trump's feud with Jeff Bezos made it personal. Their rivalry, fueled by Trump's dislike of the Washington Post, took center stage in 2025. Trump used his platform to attack Amazon, accusing it of dodging taxes and killing retail jobs. Amazon faced not just tariffs, but a president who seemed to root for its failure. Every move Amazon made was scrutinized as a political statement. When Amazon considered showing tariff costs on its website, the White House saw it as an attack. Trump reportedly called Bezos to complain, turning a business decision into a political showdown. The feud affected Amazon's stock. Negative tweets from Trump often sent shares tumbling. Investors hate uncertainty, and having the president as an enemy is the ultimate wild card. In this new era, a CEO's relationship with the president could make or break a company. For Amazon, there were no safe moves. The line between business and politics had all but disappeared. The stakes had never been higher. While headlines focused on big companies, the real impact of the trade war hit ordinary Americans. Prices on thousands of everyday goods, electronics, clothes, toys, car parts started to rise. Most of these products are made in China or use Chinese components. When tariffs hit, companies like Walmart, Target, and Amazon had to choose absorb the cost or pass it to you. Most passed it on, and families felt the squeeze in their budgets. The trade war acted as a hidden tax on everyone. It also threatened American jobs. Many U.S. manufacturers rely on Chinese parts to build products here. When those parts got more expensive, profits shrank and layoffs followed. China's retaliatory tariffs hurt American exporters too. Farmers lost their biggest market overnight. The policy meant to help American workers ended up hurting many by disrupting supply chains. The trade war wasn't a precise strike, it was a shockwave that hit the whole economy. Everyday Americans paid the price, often without realizing it. The fallout was widespread and deeply felt. The lesson: trade wars rarely go as planned. The US-China trade war wasn't just an American problem, it rattled the entire world. As tariffs escalated, global stock markets plunged, wiping out retirement savings and investor confidence. Countries everywhere felt the shock. European and Asian companies that relied on US and Chinese trade were thrown into chaos. A German car maker using Chinese parts to build cars for the US suddenly faced a business crisis. The uncertainty made businesses worldwide freeze investments and brace for recession. The global economy's interconnectedness meant no one was safe from the fallout. Companies scrambled to rethink their supply chains, looking to Vietnam, Mexico, or India for alternatives. Some even considered bringing manufacturing back to the US, a costly, complex move. The trade war marked the end of an era of easy globalization. A new age of economic nationalism and strategic decoupling had begun. Political risk became as important as economic cost. The world was forced to adapt to a new, unpredictable reality. The message was clear: when America sneezes, everyone catches a cold. So, did Amazon really leave the US? Of course not. Amazon is deeply rooted in America with its headquarters, workforce, and biggest market here. The rumor that it would leave was absurd, but it showed just how much pressure the company was under. Amazon was squeezed by a hostile White House, rising costs, and demanding customers and shareholders. Navigating these pressures in a volatile climate was a monumental challenge. Like many companies, Amazon scrambled to diversify its supply chain, reducing reliance on China. This meant finding new suppliers, investing in logistics, and rebuilding a global network. The goal: become more resilient to political shocks and trade wars. Amazon's 2025 story is a lesson for the modern age. Even giants aren't immune to politics. Business, trade, and politics are now inseparable. A temporary truce was reached, but the underlying tensions remain. Companies now operate in a world of permanent uncertainty. The only question is when the next storm will hit. The consequences of America's trade battles didn't stop at its borders. As Washington and Beijing exchanged blows, economies from Europe to Southeast Asia felt the tremors. Global supply chains, once seamless, became tangled in red tape and uncertainty. Small businesses in Vietnam and Germany, tech startups in India, and manufacturers in Mexico all had to adapt, fast. Some found new opportunities, others lost crucial contracts. Consumers worldwide saw prices rise on everything from electronics to clothing. Even countries not directly involved in the trade war were forced to take sides, reshaping alliances and trade deals. The lesson? In a hyper-connected world, one nation's policy can send shockwaves across continents. The age of isolated economies is over. What happens in Washington or Beijing now truly reverberates everywhere. So, what does the future hold for e-commerce in a world shaped by trade wars and global disruption? While tariffs and political tensions have forced companies to rethink their supply chains, they've also sparked a wave of innovation. E-commerce giants are investing in smarter logistics, AI-driven inventory management, and even exploring local manufacturing to sidestep trade barriers. Small businesses too are reaching new markets through digital platforms, adapting to shifting regulations with agility. Consumers, now more aware of the complexities behind every online purchase, are demanding transparency and ethical sourcing. The next decade could see e-commerce becoming more decentralized, resilient, and personalized than ever before. One thing's certain: as global challenges evolve, so will the ways we shop, sell, and connect. The future of e-commerce? It's already being written by innovators, entrepreneurs, and yes, by all of us. Looking back, the story of tariffs, trade wars, and e-commerce isn't just about numbers or headlines, it's a lesson in adaptation. For businesses, it's a reminder that resilience and flexibility are key. The smartest companies learn to pivot quickly, diversify suppliers, and embrace new technology, turning obstacles into opportunities. For consumers, It's a wake-up call about the real-world impact of global decisions on everyday life, from the price of gadgets to the speed of shipping. And for leaders, it's a lesson that short-term wins can bring long-term challenges, rippling across borders and industries. In the end, every shakeup, no matter how disruptive, pushes us to rethink, rebuild, and reimagine what's possible. The world of commerce will keep changing, but the lessons we've learned will help us navigate whatever comes next.